We started with corporate social responsibility. I'm going to put a word in front of that, profitable corporate social responsibility. And I'm going to ask you, is it a thing? Is it something that can be profitable as well as just a good cause?
Yes, it can be, because you can be quite creative with how you try and achieve it. So I think if that's really on your agenda, I think you can set up charitable trusts to work from. There are probably some tax efficiencies to be had from that. I think we could set up a charitable foundation here, and then let's say we wanted to send somebody into work at school one day a week as a volunteer. We could then pay them out of that charitable pot, but they would still be seconded to go and work in the school, I think. So I think there are some ways of doing it. And I'm sure a lot of bigger businesses definitely have got that sewn up. I mean, I know a friend of mine they do have a charitable foundation in their business, and they've recently really used it to keep employing the staff that would have had to be furloughed. But in fact, they've used that pot to support some NHS work. So it's done a really good job, but it hasn't actually cost them anything apart from what they put into the foundation to start with, which of course is tax-free because it's a charitable trust. So I think there are some quite clever ways of doing it. I think at our level, that would cost us more to administer than it would make it worthwhile. You know, we're not contributing huge amounts. We're more about actually giving our time and with Tom, it's not been about that hasn't cost us anything really, apart from having to make sure we're really looking after him and developing him as is appropriate for him.
So companies that have corporate social responsibility, we've said, what is it? What does it look like? It can take all shapes and forms. Some of it is a tick box, and it's just something to hold up there. It's not even clear when you do read about it what the definition is. And it's not, from what I can see, there's no real legislation around claiming that title. But I do think that people, when you're doing business with somebody, if you have a choice to do business with a company that can demonstrate that it is a sympathetic employer, that it is going above the normal, just making money. If it's putting something back into the local community, that's always a powerful message. And I think that's really important. And I think we'll see more and more of that as we go on, genuine contributions to society. And that can only be good for everybody, to be honest. And if that helps those companies to get more business and make more money, well, that's profitable corporate social responsibility. Yeah. But it needs to be, I think I go back to Joe's point, you need to believe from within, not just be driving your profit line. If that's your motivation, it probably doesn't work. So you can very quickly see those that have got a genuine motive and those that don't. And it's just, I think if it grows, it's powerful for the country in general.
I think actually as well, just adding on to that, we work with various different sizes, types of customers, and probably the older, more established businesses that we work with, they're very much entrenched in how they do things. So they have their purchasing department that always wants us to get 3% down on price every year, and that's all the relationship is about. And then we have newer companies that we work with who are more likely to be in more profitable areas. So that's obviously a part of it, so medical or perhaps leisure. So at the moment we're developing and working on a few kind of sport type accessories, that type of thing. There's more money in those things, but those companies also have a different sort of moral standard of working. And so I believe our business is much more aligned with those companies, and we have such a different working relationship with the people in their businesses, because their business is all about their culture and how they are treated as staff members, how they're looked after. So when their purchasing manager goes looking for a new supplier, he's looking for a supplier that does the same thing, because that's part of their agenda. So he can come to us and he can see that, I don't know, we pay people the real living wage, not the national living wage, and we pay, we do social things. We do what we can with what we've got, which often isn't as much as we'd like, but the intention is there, that will evolve. Because that's where young people are in their lives. They want to go to work in a place where people are valued and nice. And, you know, young people don't want to work in a sweatshop where it's all about money, actually. They want a quality of life that perhaps our generation didn't value as much as we should have done.
A lot of it, I think, goes right the age of the company and the size of the company as well. The company that I dealt with recently, on the visit, when I walked around, it was almost like I'd come back onto an army site. And I mean that in a nice way, in that they had super smart uniforms. They felt like they owned the business. It was a modern premises. There was they built up a very strong culture there. When you walked around, everybody said hello to you. I mean, that's pretty unusual in this day and age. So when I'm talking to my candidates about it, I'm saying, look, this is like being in 3-5 Engineer Regiment. You just got a different uniform, but you can progress up that chain. You can become part of that team because that's what you know. They value their people, they're team players, and there's a clear career structure. And I think for companies doing more and more outside the workplace, you will start to see more of that, because companies will start to realise how important that is, whether it's a walk at the weekend or whether it's some sort of, you know, whatever it might be, just getting employees to say it's not just about Monday tipping up and there I go onto the production line. It's about, well, what did we do on Sunday together, or what are we doing for that charity? When you start to get that culture, as Joe says, it's almost like a subculture. I don't want to, put a halo on everybody's head, but we're now starting to drive the country, drive productivity, and we're caring about the people around us. And if we can get that message across, then we've done a pretty good job, I think.
What's really apparent is that it's all about the levels. So whether you're the individual that's benefiting on the ground in the company, if you're a small business, new kid on the block, a medium-sized enterprise or a big corporate, people want to work with people that they get on with and they can connect with on a different level than just work.